Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to tit-bits on business and finance with me. Among the measures that were announced by the Reserve Bank in order to provide relief to borrowers during these times of extreme economic hardship were that a moratorium on bank loans was announced until 31st of August 2020. That meant that if you are a borrower of a bank and you're not able to repay your loans, you need not do so until 31st of August. Till then, even if you do not repay, you're not going to be considered to be a defaulter in the system, and the bank is not going to initiate any recovery measures until the 31st of August. Of course, the moratorium did not mean that the bank is not going to charge you interest, but the relief that came to the borrower was at these times of very stretched cash flows, they need not dip into their cash flows and repay bank loans. But this moratorium is purely a temporary measure. After 31st of August, the bank is going to be at your door claiming recovery of loans. Thus, you need a more permanent or a better solution. And that solution lies in restructuring of bank loans. A restructuring of a bank loan typically means that the bank will now give you additional time to repay your loans. The bank will now try to match your cash flows and repayment of the loan under the change scenario. In a restructuring at times, the banks also cut your interest rates, making it easier for you. And to all those worthy borrowers, even additional money is given in order to restart their operations and stabilize it. Thus, the real solution lies in restructuring of bank loans, because as we said, after 31st August, the bank will be at your door all over again. The need for an across-the-board restructuring has become a burning issue, and many industry bodies and associations have been demanding the government to come up with this kind of a measure. The finance minister, in a recent webinar address to the Chennai International Center, said that the government is in intense discussion with the Reserve Bank of India to come out with a one-time restructuring measure in order to restructure bank loans. She admitted that there is huge stress in the system, and she therefore said that the government is actively pursuing this option of a one-time restructuring with the Reserve Bank of India. She further said that she is concerned about the fact that banks are not passing on the benefit of interest rate cuts to their borrowers, and she said that the government is going to look into it. Confirming this disturbing state of affairs of MSME units is yet another statement made by Shri Nitin Gadkari, the senior minister in charge of the MSME portfolio. He said that MSME units today are facing a severe shortage of working capital, and because of that, their entire demand-supply equation has been disrupted and affected. He said that the government proposes to infuse up to 15% equity in well-managed MSME units, and that would be decided on the basis of the GST and income tax returns filed by these units, together with their banking conduct and also a rating that would be done. This state of affairs, which demands a restructuring, gets further confirmed by other developments. Lenders say that 40 to 50% of borrowers have opted for this moratorium option that was provided by the Reserve Bank of India, thus indicating that their cash flows are stressed out. That means that we are going to see a huge surfeit of new NPAs or defaults after 31st of August when this moratorium period ends. And that is why many industry bodies and SME associations have been demanding that the moratorium period should be extended up to 31st of March 2021. SIDBI says that during the month of June, NBFCs are witnessing that they are able to recover merely 40 to 60% of their dues, indicating that their borrowers are not able to repay their loans. Stress is evident across the board. And this stress has not been merely caused by COVID and the lockdown. The fact is that the Indian economy and these sectors were anyway on a shaky wicket in the months leading to the start of the lockdown. By February, March, the Indian economy was already on a huge slowdown mode. Our growth rate had come to an 11-year low, and there was immense stress in the system. And that is the reason why from 2019 onwards, the Reserve Bank of India has actually been delaying the recognition of NPAs by banks from the MSME sector, and it has been postponing this recognition now and then. Again, confirming the fact that there is immense stress in the sector and some kind of a relief needs to be provided. Therefore, the government itself admits that there is a need for restructuring of bank loans by way of a one-time general measure. What are the reasons? What is the larger picture why this kind of a restructuring is imperative? The first one, borrowers have faced a situation during the lockdown when their units have been completely closed or are working at a very low capacity. There has been no production, there has been no activity, there have been no sales, there has been no income, there has been no operating cash flows. And while cash flows, inflows have dried, the outflows continue. Units have been forced to spend, units have been forced to repay bank loans, units now face a situation where their cash flows, their fund base is exhausted or completely exhausted. Where is the money to repay bank loans in such a case? They will need extra time to repay, which means they need a restructuring. The second is the global and domestic demand and supply has been disrupted. Consumer spending still has gone down by about 35%, despite the government saying that the lockdown has been lifted to a certain extent. With domestic and global supply chains have been disrupted, the businesses are going to face a lot of times to be able to revive that very business that they were conducting in the pre-corona time. That again demands patience on the part of banks to recover the loans, and that in other words means a restructuring. Many sectors are facing a deep-rooted distress. It will take years to be able to return to normalcy for them, and they are not going to be able to revive their cash flows and operations immediately after the lockdown is lifted. They will need extra time. Banks will have to handhold them, and that handholding comes by way of giving them extra time to repay their loans. Further, as Mr. Gadkari himself admits, working capital is missing from the system. The units do not have working capital to even restart their production activities in a normal way. Where do they have the money to repay bank loans? And the only way out is as they continue to restart and rebuild their working capital base, the banks will also need to continue to give them time to be able to repay accordingly. Working capital needs to come back till such time, and for that you need a restructuring. The fact of the matter is that the Indian economy is contracting this year. The Indian economy, according to Goldman Sachs, will contract by 5% this year. According to the IMF, it will contract by 4.5% this year. And according to Bloomberg Economics, it will contract by a stunning 10.6% this year. Everybody agrees that there's going to be a contraction of the Indian economy. Businesses will witness that their top line has got decimated, and that again means that please give those borrower businesses time to repay their loans. While this year is going to witness a contraction of the economy, the next year is no good, and neither is the year thereafter. According to the IMF chief economist Geeta Gopinathan, according to her, the next 2 years Indian economy will witness a growth rate of a mere 1%. These loans were borrowed at a time when the growth rate looked to be far better and superior, and with the growth rate being a mere 1%, businesses of course need time to repay their loans. The further fact of the matter is, while borrowers need time to repay, otherwise they will be defaulting, the banks are in no position to now handle any more defaults and new NPAs. Any default by a borrower would mean that the banks will need to provide for those losses. Bank capital which has been infused by the government will immediately evaporate. The banks are in no position to take yet another surfeit of NPAs. And even if the NPAs come at this moment, because of the IBC being suspended, banks will not even be able to take any recovery action. Thus, while the borrowers need a restructuring, so do the banks. And for that, it is the Reserve Bank of India that will need to come up with a circular authorizing banks to restructure loans without providing them or without treating those defaults as an NPA. The reality is that uncertainty continues. Uncertainty continues in the Indian economy, not just when will the lockdown end and its effects will go, but also when will the revival start. And in these extraordinary times, in these times of unprecedented crisis, you will need to have a restructuring of bank loans. There is a precedent for this. In the year 2008, when the global economic crisis, the impact of that dawned on India also, the Reserve Bank permitted banks to come up with a restructuring. They permitted banks to restructure all those loans where the businesses are viable, where there's a repayment capacity available, and where the banks are secured. Something like this was needed even now, but with more lenient terms. Because of the sudden change in the economic scenario, viability remains a question mark. It will take time to be established. Thus, in this particular scenario of restructuring, the Reserve Bank will need to be much more lenient. Only then will even the restructuring prove to be a viable option. We are told that in the board meeting of the Reserve Bank today, restructuring is one of the options being considered. You might hear that the Reserve Bank board has agreed to give this option to banks. We really hope that that comes. Otherwise, post 31st August, there will be utter chaos in the Indian banking system and also in the economy. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
हमारे घरों में भी बच्चे होते हैं जो हमसे प्यार दुलार की आस करते हैं।
हमारा भी जीवन साथी है जिसको हमारे ड्यूटी से घर आने का इंतजार होता है।
हमारे घर में भी एक बूढ़ी माँ है जिनके लिए आज भी हम ही आंखों के तारे हैं।
लेकिन हम हमारे घरों में नहीं हैं। आपकी सुरक्षा में कोई कसर न रहे, इसलिए हम अपने प्रियजनों से दूर हैं।
हम में से ही कुछ तो अब इतने दूर जा चुके हैं कि वो वापस अपने घरों को लौट भी नहीं पाएंगे।
हमें गर्व है कि हमारे कंधों पे मुंबई शहर के नागरिकों की सुरक्षा की जिम्मेदारी है। हमारे जज्बे और बलिदान को व्यर्थ न जाने दे। इस संकट के समय में आप घर पे रहे, सुरक्षित रहे।
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.